Welcome to another lecture of excretion and osmoregulation. Today we are going to talk about composition of urine and how it can be regulated. So we are going to discuss about three major mechanisms which is going to regulate the urine composition. Okay. So first we are going to talk about the regulation of water reabsorption. Okay, so how which mechanism that is involved in regulating the water reabsorption, that we are going to discuss. Then we are going to discuss about the mechanism which is going to regulate the electrolyte reabsorption. Okay, and if suppose excess of electrolytes are there in your body, so how they are being regulated with the help of another mechanism, so that we are going to discuss. So today we will start with the first mechanism, okay, which is responsible for a regulation of water reabsorption in your body. Okay, all of you know that we have the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part of your midbrain. Okay, or it is a hypothalamus is a part of your diencephalon. So it has a special receptor called as osmoreceptor. Okay, it has special receptor called as osmoreceptor, and these osmoreceptor, they can detect the change in concentration of water and salt in your blood. Okay, now if you see that if the condition is like this, if there is a decrease in blood volume or there is excess of dehydration, so that dehydration can be result of too much sweating. Okay, or the condition if you are taking excess of salt in the diet. Okay, so what happens, the water content of the blood is going to decrease. Okay, so what are the three conditions we have discussed? If there is decrease in the blood volume, okay, that can be result of excess of sweating, or it can be a result of dehydration, right? Even in case of hemorrhage, that is a bleeding. Okay, uh, or even in case of summer season, your body tend to get dehydrated. Okay, so if the conditions are like this, if there is decrease in the blood volume, if there is too much sweating, if you are going to consume more amount of salt, so water content of the blood is going to decrease. So under that conditions, we have the osmoreceptor in the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part of your brain, that is forebrain has three parts: olfactory lobe, cerebrum, and diencephalon. So diencephalon has a part called as hypothalamus. So hypothalamus has a receptor called as osmoreceptor. These osmoreceptor, they can detect the change in concentration of salt and water in your blood. Okay, so they are going to detect the decrease in concentration of water. Okay, and then the message will send to the posterior pituitary gland. So you can see the location of the pituitary gland over here. Okay, now posterior pituitary gland is also known as neurohypophysis, that is another word. Okay, now these posterior pituitary gland, it is going to release the hormone called as antidiuretic hormone, ADH. Okay, antidiuretic hormone, or which is also known as vasopressin. This antidiuretic hormone, it is going to act on kidney. Anti is against, diuretic is against dilute urine. That means it is going to make the urine concentrated. So posterior pituitary gland is going to release ADH. So there is increase in the concentration of antidiuretic hormone. This antidiuretic hormone is going to act on the kidney. Okay, so in the kidney, permeability of the collecting duct and distal convoluted tubule to the water is going to increase. Okay, so there will be increase in water reabsorption because of change in the permeability of the cells of collecting duct and distal convoluted tubule. So ADH is going to stimulate reabsorption of water from the distal collecting tubule and the collecting duct by increasing the permeability of the cell. Okay, so water is going to leave the urine, and that's why urine become more concentrated. So if water is going to leave the urine, it is going to enter into the blood. So blood volume is going to increase. Urine volume is going to decrease. So urine become concentrated. Okay, that is one way one can regulate the concentration of water in the blood. Another way, that is, it will send a message. Now your thirst center will be activated. Okay, now that when the thirst center is activated, you are going to drink the water. Okay, so obviously blood volume is going to increase. Okay, and that is how the regulation of water reabsorption can be done in your body. Okay, so there is an hormone called as ADH is going to play a very important role in regulating the water reabsorption. So ADH, another name is called as vasopressin. Okay. So anti-diuretic hormone, or which is also called as vasopressin, because one, it is going to make the concentrated urine. That is the first role. It also going to constrict the blood vessel in order to maintain the blood pressure. So therefore, it is also called as vasopressin. Vaso is blood vessel. Okay, pressin is going to press. So antidiuretic hormone is also known as vasopressin, which is going to stimulate the water retention in the kidney by increasing the permeability of the DCT or CD, that is distal convoluted tubule or collecting tubule of that is to the water. If the ADH is not there in your body, then you are going to suffer from, or you are going to suffer from a disease. That disease is called as diabetes insipidus. So deficiency of ADH, or less amount of ADH in your body, can cause a disease called as diabetes insipidus. So suppose if the ADH is not there, so there is no reabsorption of water from the urine, so your urine become dilute. So one of the symptoms of ADH is formation of very dilute urine. Okay. So when dilute urine is formed, more amount of water is lost. That condition is called as polyuria. Okay. The condition is known as polyuria. So when more amount of water is lost from your body, you tend to drink more amount of water. Okay, so this is called as increased thirst. That is one of the symptoms of diabetes insipidus. Increased thirst is also called as polydipsia. Okay, so there are two major symptoms which are associated with deficiency of ADH. One is called as polyuria, that is more dilute urine is formed. Another is called as polydipsia, that is increased thirst. Okay, if the ADH level is going to increase beyond a normal level, then more concentrated urine is formed, which is known as antidiuresis. Okay, so that is the first mechanism by which your body can regulate the water reabsorption. Okay, so which hormone is involved? That is called as anti-diuretic hormone. Now we are going to discuss about the second mechanism. So the second mechanism is associated with regulation of electrolyte balance in your body. Okay, so that mechanism is known as, that is uh, another mechanism is known as RAAS. But before that, there is one more point that we are going to go through. What is the effect of ADH or vasopressin? Okay, effect of alcohol on ADH or vasopressin. So when you take the excess amount of alcohol, okay, there are certain chemicals which are going to inhibit the ADH. So when you take excess amount of alcohol, it is going to inhibit the ADH. It is going to inhibit the vasopressin. Okay, so what happens? More dilute amount of urine is formed. So when the more dilute amount of urine is formed, there will be loss of water from your body. Okay, so that result in a condition called as dehydration. then you are going to suffer from, or you are going to show the symptoms such as excessive thirst, headache, parched throat. All these are symptoms of hangover. So what is hangover? That is excessive drinking of alcoholic beverages. Okay, because alcohol, even caffeine, it is going to inhibit anti-diuretic hormone, or it is going to inhibit vasopressin. Okay, so these are called as diuretics. Diuretic, these chemicals are called as diuretic because they are going to cause dilute urine. Okay, so when the dilute urine is formed, then there will be loss of water from your body. Okay, that result in a condition such as dehydration, okay, excessive thirst, parched throat, and headache. Okay, so this is the effect of alcohol on ADH or vasopressin. Coming to the another mechanism that we are going to talk, that is RAAS, that is renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. Okay, which is known as RAAS. Okay, so that mechanism is with the help of, that is controlled with the help of juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, that already we have discussed. So whenever your blood supply, okay, to the efferent arteriole is going to decrease whenever there is low blood pressure. Okay, the condition can be whenever there is low blood pressure, whenever there is low salt, okay, or whenever you are going to suffer from dehydration. Okay, so dehydration is loss of water. Okay, so because of loss of water, there will be decrease in amount of blood in your body, so that result in decrease amount of blood pressure. Okay, and even whenever there is low salt in your body, that also result in decrease in blood pressure in your body. Okay, so in the third, that is in these three condition, that is low blood pressure, low salt concentration, and dehydration. Okay, so your liver is going to produce one substance called as angiotensinogen. Okay, so what is angiotensinogen? Angio is blood vessel. Always remember, angio word is concerned with the blood vessel. Angiology is study of blood vessel. So you can see this is angiotensinogen. So that means this chemical is going to apply the pressure on your blood vessel. Tensinogen, tensin is, it is going to apply the pressure. So you can see there is, the liver is going to produce a substance called as angiotensinogen. Okay. Now that angiotensinogen is acted upon by the renin. Okay. Now that renin is secreted by a juxtaglomerular apparatus. You know juxtaglomerular apparatus. Sometimes distal convoluted tubules make the contact with a glomerular cell or afferent arteriole. Okay, and it is going to form a juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, I hope you can remember. So that juxtaglomerular apparatus is formed by the DCT and the glomerulus, or the part of the arteriole, and it is going to release a chemical, or it is going to release a hormone like enzyme called as renin. Now that renin is going to act on angiotensinogen. Renin is going to act on angiotensinogen. Angiotensinogen is converted into angiotensin 1, okay, by the action of renin. So that angiotensin 1 has got 10 amino acid. Okay, it has got 10 amino acid. Angiotensin 1, now it is acted upon by the enzyme known as angiotensin converting enzyme. ACE stand for angiotensin converting enzyme. And that angiotensin converting enzyme is released by the lungs. Okay. Now that angiotensin 1 is converted into angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 1, which is 10 amino acid. Now it is converted into angiotensin 2, which has 8 amino acid. That means 2 amino acids are removed by angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay. Now that angiotensin 2, it has three major role. Okay. So the first role, you can see it is going to act on adrenal cortex. It is going to act on adrenal cortex. This is adrenal gland. It has got outer part called as cortex. Inner part is called as medulla. So it is going to act on adrenal gland. Okay. So because of that, it is going, there will be release of hormone called as aldosterone. Now this aldosterone is going to act on collecting duct, okay, as well as the DCT, where there will be increase in sodium and water reabsorption in distal tubule. Okay, so salt concentration can be balanced with the help of aldosterone. So angiotensin 2 is going to act on adrenal cortex to release aldosterone. Aldosterone is going to act on distal part of the renal tubule, where there will be absorption of salt. So salt like sodium ion. So when there will be absorption of salt, there will be reabsorption of water as well, and blood pressure is maintained. Okay, another, angiotensin 2 is a powerful vasoconstrictor. Vasoconstrictor, that means it is going to constrict the blood vessels in order to maintain the blood pressure. So when it is going to constrict the blood vessel, okay, or whenever it is going to bring about constriction of the blood vessel, the blood pressure is maintained. So that is the second role. Angiotensin is going to act as powerful vasoconstrictor, and it is also going to stimulate the PCT cells to enhance reabsorption of NaCl. So these are the three roles that is performed by angiotensin 2. So you can see this is a flow chart you have to remember. There will be fall in glomerular filtrate rate. Okay. Now why there is fall in glomerular filtrate rate? Because there is will be decrease in blood pressure. Why there is decrease in blood pressure? Because there will be low NaCl concentration. So under these three conditions, there is a juxtaglomerular apparatus. There is a juxtaglomerular apparatus. This is going to release a enzyme called as renin. Now that renin is going to act on plasma angiotensinogen, which is secreted by the liver. Plasma angiotensinogen, now it is converted to angiotensin 1, which is a 10 amino acid. Angiotensin 1 is acted upon by the enzyme called as angiotensin converting enzyme, which is released by the lungs. Now there will be a formation of angiotensin 2, which is 8 amino acid. That means 2 amino acid is removed by this angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay. Now that angiotensin 2, it is a force, it is powerful vasoconstrictor. So because of the vasoconstriction, the blood pressure become normal, and there will be again increase in glomerular filtrate rate. Another role, it is going to stimulate the adrenal cortex. It is going to secrete aldosterone. Aldosterone is going to act on the cells of the collecting duct or collecting tubule. There will be reabsorption of sodium. So whenever there is a reabsorption of sodium, there will be reabsorption of water as well. So thereby it is going to increase blood volume and blood pressure. Okay. So this is how that renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system is going to work. Okay, that is the second mechanism by which the electrolyte in the body can be regulated. Okay, then these are the two conditions that we have studied. Wherever there is decrease in blood pressure or wherever there is decrease in blood volume, but there are certain cases where your blood volume and pressure is going to increase. So whenever there is increase in the blood volume and blood pressure, your heart is going to release one peptide or factor, which is known as atrial natriuretic factor. See, name itself suggests that atrial natriuretic. Atrial is released by the atria of the heart. Okay, heart is four chambered, so there are two atria and two ventricles. So heart chamber known as atria, it is going to release a peptide, that is natriuretic factor. Natrium is sodium, uretic is urine. That means sodium is lost in the urine. Okay, so therefore it is known as atrial natriuretic factor or peptide. So either you can call it as ANF or ANP, which is released by atria. When it is released, when there is high blood pressure and high blood volume. So whenever your body has more blood volume and blood pressure, it is going to release atrial natriuretic factor. Now this atrial natriuretic factor, it is going to inhibit, or it is going to check renin angiotensin mechanism. If that renin angiotensin mechanism is inhibited, so there will be no absorption of sodium from the urine. So sodium is lost in the urine. So it is going to result in increase in salt excretion, which is called as natriuresis. Okay, as well as there will be increase in water excretion. So you can see this is the high blood pressure and high blood volume is going to stimulate your heart. Heart is going to release, that is atria is going to release atrial natriuretic factor or peptide. So it is going to bring about vasodilation, decrease in the blood pressure. It also promote the sodium excretion, which is known as natriuresis. Okay, it also promote the water excretion, which is called as diuresis. Okay, and this is going to inhibit, that is RAS, that is renin angiotensin aldosterone inhibition. Okay, so blood volume plus blood pressure is going to reduce. So this is the third mechanism. So there will be increase in the blood volume or pressure. The wall of the atria is going to secrete ANF or ANP, which is going to inhibit the release of renin. So also it is going to inhibit the reabsorption of sodium, that is NaCl, from the collecting duct. Also reduce the release of aldosterone. So there will be increase in the salt excretion, which is nothing but natriuresis. Also there will be increase in water excretion, which is called as diuresis. So that result in lower in blood pressure and blood volume. Okay, so this is the three mechanism by which the kidney function is regulated. The next part, that is role of other organ in excretion. So kidney is a major organ which is concerned with excretion. Okay, but there are certain organ which are also going to assist the kidney in excretion. So the first organ is skin. So in other organism, the skin is thin, but we have the thick skin, which has which is a multi-layer. So you can see over here, it has got epidermis, it has got dermis, and just below the dermis, there will be another tissue. There will be fat. Okay, so which is known as subcutaneous fat. Okay, so in the dermis, you can make out there are two glands are there. One is called as sweat gland. Okay, so this sweat gland is very important gland that is concerned with the excretion. Okay, and another is called as sebaceous gland, or which is also known as oil gland. Okay, so you can see these sweat glands are distributed all over the skin. Okay, and if you observe that sweat gland is simple, unbranched, and coiled gland. Can you see this is a simple, unbranched, and coiled, which is going to open on the surface of the skin. So it is going to produce the sweat. Sweat contain water, salt, lactic acid, and urea. So excess of salt is lost through the sweat. Even excess of water, that is lost through the sweat. Basically, the main function of the sweat gland is thermoregulation. It is going to maintain your body temperature. Okay, lactic acid, it is antimicrobial. So it has a role that is antimicrobial, and very small amount of urea is also excrete through the sweat. Okay, so that is the first part, that is we have the sweat gland, or another name for the sweat gland is called as sudoriferous gland. So this is the accessory excretory organ. Then you can see there is a sebaceous gland or oil gland, which is going to open at the base of hair follicle. Can you see the location? Okay, so there is a gland called as sebaceous gland, which is present at the neck of the hair follicle. It is going to secrete the oily substance, and that oily substance is called as sebum. So it is going to lubricate the skin, okay, making it softer, and it also going to protect the skin from infection and injury. Okay, so this is the role of sebaceous gland. Hmm. Then another organ which is concerned with the excretion, that is, it is the accessory excretory organ, which is nothing but lungs. Okay, so we have got the lungs, and the lungs has alveoli. So in the alveoli, the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen will take place. So carbon dioxide is a volatile waste. Okay, excess of water vapors are also lost during that is respiration, because water vapor and carbon dioxide, these are referred as a metabolic waste. So these metabolic waste are thrown with the help of lungs. So during the respiration, the volatile substances, even which can be present in case of the spices and other food stuff, can also lost through the lungs. Okay, so that is the role of the lungs in case of excretion. So water vapors and carbon dioxide along with the volatile waste, that is lost with the help of lungs. So lungs is the respiratory organ, but it is also the accessory excretory organ. So that is going to help in excretion of the volatile substances like carbon dioxide, water vapor, which is produced during cellular respiration. Okay, so these are the two organs that is which are concern or which are considered as the accessory excretory organ.